Call to order. Okay, first item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. We have the approval of minutes from a number of meetings. We have reports, although I did note that one of the reports that's listed here is not within our package, so we will not be reviewing the Public Works Superintendent report. The other business motion with respect to Robert's Rules of Order, the discussion of management of parcel taxes and water tolls arrears, and then we have an update regarding the most recent Governance Committee Working Committee meeting. Wondering if we need to do that one again. We discussed it in our COW meeting. It will be published on the COW meeting video. We didn't make any resolutions out of that. Thoughts about deleting that from the agenda?
Just one point here before we start, just clarification on where we're on the agenda. We're going to discuss the financial statement, or is that, are we going to discuss it?
It is included in the CAO's report.
Oh, okay.
It's an attachment to the CAO's report, so
okay.
Would you prefer to separate it off?
Well, yeah, I kind of think we need to put it as a discussion point in the agenda somewhere. Unless, because we don't read the CAO reports and the other reports anymore.
Can we specifically review the financials as part of the CAO report? Sure. And if that drives any business out of it, we can accept the report and then make any motions from that.
Okay. Yep.
Can anybody guide me on Robert's Rules of Order as to how we should deal with that? I don't have the details on that. Trustee Culture, do you know the
No,
answer?
clearly we have not had any financial opportunity to review any finances. I think it's a legitimate business item. Where you want to discuss it?
Well, it is under reports, so we'll,
Well, it's not listed.
yeah, so we'll just take it CAO report when we get to there, and then have a discussion on the financial.
Including financials. Okay. And any objection to us removing item C under new or other business?
No objection.
Okay. So then item 6 will be an in-camera discussion related to union negotiations. There's no correspondence, although I would like to discuss one thing under that in terms of perhaps a unique approach to landowner questions, which are related to correspondence, but I would just like to put that on the board agenda. So let's do correspondence in advance of the in-camera discussion, and then adjourn. So, are we okay with those modifications to the agenda?
Yeah.
Motion to adopt.
I make a motion to adopt the agenda as modified.
Second. All in favor? Okay, so approval of minutes. We have come at our public meeting from last month, and then there are 2 emergency meetings that never seem to get reviewed and approved. So we have those to do. So any corrections or anything to the May 21st regular board meeting minutes?
I just want to comment. There's been several concerns raised by landowners in terms of not having a video, we know why, and delay in minutes. I recall when we had Kevin DeVille as administrator that draft minutes would be posted within a week of the board meeting, and it would just say clearly draft. And then once, there was never a month-long delay. Once they were approved at the next meeting, then the word draft was just taken off of the, on the website, and if there was any changes were made.
Okay.
So I would like to see that happen again, given our problems with video recording, which I know we've all tried to do our best, but I think that would help if we put draft.
Do we need a motion or anything, or do we just say this is just procedural?
I think it's procedural,
It
and
was done.
I agree with you.
I can make a motion if you like, but
Is it necessary?
I don't think so, and
I
I
don't
think it would.
I agree too.
Yeah.
I'll agree.
Yeah, so I will have that discussion
Okay.
with the CAO to make sure
I
that we
think
are
that would-
posting draft minutes. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so anything else with respect to the May 21st minutes?
I make a motion that we accept the May 21st, 2020 regular board meeting minutes as presented.
Second? All in favor? Okay. So approval of the March 24th emergency meeting minutes. As I understand this meeting, this was done as a result of us not doing a second reading of a bylaw in the March 16th emergency meeting. So there was a meeting convened for a second reading. And so the minutes are as presented here. Any corrections, thoughts?
No.
Okay, motion to approve or accept.
Hey, motion to approve.
Seconded.
All in favor? Okay, motion, okay, so minutes, emergency board meeting minutes, March 16th, 2020. Okay, so any thoughts on this? I have one correction I would make to item 8, where it's just for clarity, it says the board has authorized postponing this meeting, and this is kind of unspecified. And I think that means the AGM if conditions surrounding COVID-19 dictate. Is that correct?
Yeah, it must be the AGM,
Yeah.
regarding AGM, yeah. Thanks for catching that. So I move to accept with the correction as noted.
Second. All in favor? Okay. So, next agenda item, acceptance of reports. CAO report, including the financial projections or review for the first quarter for, I'm trying to get the date on this, there is no period listed on here. I guess it's a projection.
It does say April to June on page, there's two. There's several pages, they're all listed as page 2. Are you talking about the CAO report?
Well, yes, I was looking at the numbers as well, so let's,
The June 12th says April to June, but it says page 2 on it, and then there's another page, it's called page 2, and then there's another page called page 2. So I've got a 3-page report, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
yes, there are 3 pages, which we will renumber.
But I think they're all the same report.
So, has everyone had the opportunity to read this?
One point. On this UBID has 2.5 years to decommission the existing water treatment plant and reservoir. Did you ever come to a consensus on that?
I went and looked at the water agreement, and it's 5 years from the initiation of
The new plant?
yeah.
So if we do the math, let's say 2.5 years from end of May is essentially, so end of 2020, end of 2022. Did we sign the water agreement end of 2017?
Well, it wasn't about the agreement, it was about when
It was
the
about the starting of the
project
water
was
treatment
initiated.
project, when it was this year.
So I think that probably is about 2 years now, is what I'm thinking.
So the 2.5 years makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Yeah, that's what I'd read as well,
Yeah.
that it was 5 years from the initiation of, I thought it was from the signing of the water.
Oh, maybe it was.
Which would have been about around the end of 2017,
Okay.
I think, right?
Yeah,
You
it's
guys were there.
October
Yeah.
2017.
So that makes sense, that it's right in that 2.5 year
Yeah.
range.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see that it's on the report and it's thought about.
Yeah.
So another interesting note in this report that the landowners would be interested in is that the audit has been completed. I do know from further discussions that there has been one change requested to the wording of the statement, and MNP is going to present that back. And then I will seek guidance from the ministry as to whether we can approve and publish the financial statements prior to an AGM, because I think landowners are looking for this information.
It'd be nice if it could go out, because we don't know when there's gonna be an AGM. So it would be nice if that information could go forward to them.
And there are questions being given, or being brought up about the amounts in reserve funds and those sorts of things. So the financial update is from January 1st to April 30th. The column references are in the report here. Shall we look at the financial and discuss any things that arise that we may want to process as separate business from the financial report? So it essentially says that based on current projections, we will be under our revenue projections by 15% approximately. And we will be under our total expenditures by a similar amount.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how that's possible.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing that I don't get, where, we increased if you look at the 2020 budget, water tolls and metering, the first line, it shows you where we should be compared to last year, and that is mainly the increase in cost for the water treatment plant operation, right?
Correct.
That was what we kind of predicted. So we increased our water tolls by 20%, and excess use by 30%, and our parcel taxes aren't included in this, but anyway, but then you go to the 2020 budget at the fourth number over on the top line, and it's showing that we're below the total for 2019, so I can't rationalize how that could possibly happen. I mean,
Could you read that number, what you're reading?
Is that not the money that's owing that we're trying to collect the difference? It's just
no,
about that
because the 2020 actuals, which he hasn't defined, I'm assuming this is the first quarter, is that correct?
First 4 months.
4 months, oh, okay, so,
To April 30th.
yeah, so on the top line, the fourth number over, Suzanne, is where we start.
405 or?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where our budget says we should get 562,000 from our actuals, which is the third number over, which is 70,000 for 4 months. I guess if you project it out, that's where we're going to come to 405. But I don't know how we could possibly be below what we were last year.
I'm wondering if Trustee Harrelson's comment is correct here in that
That's,
we talked about the idea of are the, you know, the arrears being
it works
accounted for
out.
as revenue, or is this more of a cash projection as to what's going to flow in?
My feeling, that's what it is that is the difference,
Yeah.
and just about the same amount as the arrears were after.
Yeah, but the arrears are from several years.
I
This
know,
is-
but
this is in a,
it's been crossed into there, I'll bet you anything. I can't see where else it would be from.
no, it's something to do with the actuals. They're projecting our, okay, so if you buy 67,000 by 4, so 60, 18,000, they're projecting that out over 12 months, I guess, or something.
No, that's not correct.
No,
either.
that's
It's-
not correct
yeah.
either. So I don't,
No, I think we can speculate all we want here, and we won't really, we'll just come up with a bunch of answers that are simply that, assumptions. I think what we need to do is request from the CAO a more detailed explanation as to how we arrived at the number of 405,000 and how arrears and other factors affect it. Like, you know, for us to go from 562 to 405, there's got to be some numbers that go in there that says, is it water usage? Is it non-payment? Is it, you know, like,
Yeah.
CAC charges are a
Could be
separate
three or-
line, so.
It could be 3 or 4 things, I don't know.
Yeah, so I think we need a more detailed explanation that we request.
I would request that you do that, please.
okay, it kind of defines it here in this, on the comment box for the first line, that's only one billing cycle out of 6, so I guess if you multiply that number by 6, you're gonna come out at 405. It's surprising though, our excess water toll is a large part of our,
That's right.
it's not consistent, so of course in the winter, I forget what our excess water toll. Things wouldn't
It's
be
exactly that.
too bad, yeah,
That number of 405 is 6 times 67,000.
yeah.
Okay.
So what the question is how in 4 months did we only have one cycle?
Yeah. Exactly.
So I think we just need to understand a little bit more in that. I don't think there's a motion required here. I think it is, we would ask the CEO to give us a greater explanation of that. And I do understand the one billing cycle and the math extension, but that still says, how do you explain the shortfall? Like, we need to understand where it's coming from. What are the reasons for it? Is it collections? Is it usage?
Yeah, I'll give a breakdown.
Yeah. Okay, so we will ask that question. On the rest of the revenues, you see that there is a further approximately $28,000 shortfall in revenues. The bulk of, the biggest item there is CACs. In that we're just not seeing the new housing starts that would require a hookup. Rental income, what would we rent? The fire hall? Parcel
We
taxes,
don't have any.
is it?
No, we pay rent, I don't think we rent anything out.
Where do you see rental income?
Just, it says capital expenditure charges, interest income, rental income. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry, I skipped a line, it's interest income, so we're off on interest income.
Yeah,
We
that's
don't
because
have any, right?
Yeah,
we took the money out of the bank for
Yeah.
the 700-some-thousand, so that would explain that.
Okay, anything on the cost side that we want to inquire about? Our administrative costs are down by 83,000, largely driven by loan payments and charges. Don't understand why that would be. Other than perhaps it was anticipated to start sooner, but it's off by more than 50%. I'd appreciate a more detailed explanation. with that. Oh, again, you know what this is going to be is just very much an estimate, trying to project what's going to get paid, because we've had 0 loan payments and charges within this first 4 months. But we'll figure that one out a little more. Any other questions? So, you know, when you look at lines like subcontractor, where it's merely an extension of the, you know, the $605 we've spent so far times 3 for the remaining 8 months. We haven't had an election or any of those types of things which will incur costs, so we'll probably be much higher. I would presume that a lot of our lines are going to be like that, and we'll end up somewhat closer to budget on overall costs. We certainly need these reports posted to the website. Any other questions, thoughts?
Did we define when this statement is, you said this is a 4-month statement or a quarterly statement?
In the CAO's report, it says it's from January 1 to April 30th.
Okay. Should have that put on there if we're going to post it.
You know, it's quite possible that due to COVID restrictions that some of our costs will not be incurred, such as travel. I would anticipate we're not using vehicles quite as much, but insurance is still there, but fuel and repairs may be down. The remuneration is down a little bit, I'm not sure I understand that.
Well, we have 1 extra vehicle now, so I imagine that's gonna, you know, there'll be 1 more insurance, there'll be 1 more vehicle using fuel, so it shouldn't be that much different. If anything, it should be a little more.
Yes.
So I only see one bad debt expense for an odd amount, $638. Where is the non-payment of tolls and water charges? Where does that show up?
My sense is it's probably in the revenue line. That's just, it's not recorded as collected, right? So
That's where I figured it's gotta be.
I treat this not as a financial statement, but as a, you know, operating statement, if
It's
you
a
will.
projection is what it is.
You know, if we were to do it according to financial reporting, then anything that is billed would be revenue and it would show as accounts receivable. But I think this is more of an operating projection, as to say, where are we at? And I appreciate it for that purpose, because it gives us a little clarity as to what we're facing in terms of a cash shortfall. Because what happens is if we have a revenue shortfall, it impacts the amount that we can flow down into our capital reserve funds, which is why collections are so important, and we'll get to that on the agenda. Any other thoughts on this? Like, I think what we need to do is say to the CAO, we would like a more detailed report, and maybe we make a motion on that. We would like a more detailed report that explains the larger variances and does a little bit more to anticipate what will change in the coming 8 months versus just a straight extension of the first 4 months.
I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
So you've got that motion memorized?
What did I say?
What you said is what,
We don't need it exactly.
but what we need to know is that information and broken down. So that's a little bit more clear.
About what we're gonna expect over the next 8 months.
Provide a more detailed explanation of significant variances in the report.
Yeah.
Including a forecast that's based on projected activity.
Yeah, and also to, you know, are they allowing for non-collection within this? Are they projecting that as well, or is this the real numbers and then we've got that collection problem on top of it? I think that would be a real kick in the pants if that's going to happen.
My anticipation is no, because this is the same number we'll see in the collections report. And so I also think our motion covers that, is to provide a more detailed explanation of significant variances. Okay, so we have moved, seconded. Did we vote as well? We have voted?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was concentrating on writing. Okay, so I guess motion to adopt the CAO report as presented.
His report, he talks about the, and this does go into June, the committee, the conversion committee, and he only mentions that's in the first one, governance study. He hasn't noted that actually the people on the committee now are trustee Kelly and trustee Gibb. But that was in the first. See, this is, you know, this is, right here it says 2020 UBID March and April priorities. So this is a tack on, it seems. Why does it not, that paragraph is only for March and April? Yeah. But it's a report that goes to June, so.
Yeah, it seems that we could ask for the reports to be brought up to date.
Yeah, a
To be a
little
little
more
more current.
timely, like reflecting the current reality.
I'd say that that is probably true of the negotiations, the union comments that are in here as well. Most of the water treatment plant is up to date, although the first paragraph feels more like it's dated as well. Okay, I'll just,
Sorry, the battery is bleeping, so I don't know how long it's got.
wow,
We're just about done, I think.
we're not done the agenda, that's for sure. That was a full battery when it started too, wasn't it?
Yeah, you know what, it doesn't go black like the GoPro, and I think that keeps the battery, it sucks the battery.
Oh, the screen, just having the screen, yeah.
Can we use a phone to get the rest of it?
Um,
I know an Apple phone will give you a .mov file, which
Is your phone big enough for it? Mine wouldn't be. I don't
It'll
know.
hold it.
Once.
It'll hold it, but then it has to be converted to be put on the website. You can use the phone if you'd like.
Oh, it has to be a
Now it's going.
Oh,
Okay.
good, good.
And the video camera's done with. Okay, hopefully it can hear us as well. Should be able to. Okay, so I think what we were saying is I will review procedures of creating this report with the CAO. Okay?
Yeah.
So motion to adopt the report with the motion as described for additional details.
I so move.
Second? All in favor? Okay. Fire chief's report. Sounds like it was a reasonably quiet month. Which is nice. Report notes that open fire bans continue or they're prohibited. That was lifted yesterday or today. That open burning is now permitted again. It's on our website. As of today, I think it was.
Yeah, June 15th. So it's until June 15th.
So it has been lifted.
So I guess that means they gotta have a barbecue in the backyard now,
That's one big barbecue if you need open burning.
eh? That's right.
And Wayward Distillery has donated hand sanitizer, so don't drink the hand sanitizer.
Yeah, that's good.
That's awesome that they have.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wayward Distillers.
Right, the last one I bought from them cost me
Oh.
15 bucks.
Sorry, there is a public works report here. My
Yeah, I
apologies.
saw it.
It's just one
Must have
page
been added, yeah.
tucked in the back here.
Okay.
I must comment on the fire chief's report far better than they ever were. It really tells you what's going on, what they're doing, what they're going to do. So it's really good to see that.
I agree. In fact, I will make a note to send a note to Fire Chief Ham
Yeah.
that we appreciate your updates.
There's a message that popped up, so it's now hiding the timing. It's not a problem, but
We will prevail.
yeah.
Okay, so Fire Chief's report, motion to adopt.
I make a motion that we adopt fire chief's report as presented.
Seconded by Trustee Coulter.
All in
All
favor?
in favor? Okay. Public Works Superintendent's report.
It's one page. Oh, there it is.
So, first thing that strikes me that, I think I've heard so many comments from landowners with respect to the quality of water that we've been experiencing is the NTUs, the turbidity units. When we were under boil water, it was because we were over 1.0, and our water production is now at 0.02 turbidity units, which is less than 2% of what would trigger a boil water. And my understanding is that DHA looks to manage us to 0.3 turbidity units, and we're well below that as well, by a factor of 95% or something. So it's pretty amazing what this plant has done for us and continues to do for us as we go through.
Well, it should save a lot of hot water tanks being changed early instead of living out their lives.
My understanding is that chlorination of the water is also, we're using 50% less chlorine in the water because of the cleanliness of it. It just requires less. So that's great news. I do believe we're doing some work with the water to decrease the acidity of the water as well, which also will help all hot water tanks and everything. So, you know, just great work in getting us a state-of-the-art water plant. So, any comments, questions, if you have mind? Motion to adopt.
I make a motion we adopt the Public Works Superintendent's report as presented.
Second. All in favor? Okay, so that gets us through adoption of reports. And now we move on to new or other business. And the motion that we deferred for further study from our last meeting is a change to the meetings policy, meetings bylaw 263, where we would delete section 27 of that bylaw and replace it with the conduct of business will be done according to generally accepted rules of order, bracket, refer to UBID Guide to Meetings Procedures and Robert's Rules of Order, with specific reference to conduct of business in boards, pages 486 to pages 489 of the 11th edition of Robert's Rules of Order, or as amended in later editions. And for clarity for landowners, the change to this is the addition of with specific reference to those pages. Now, this motion was brought forward by Trustee Collier, and therefore it is her right to speak first about the motion and her thoughts on it.
This motion is to simply follow Robert's Rules of Order, specifically as it relates to small boards. It's a very specific section devoted to small boards, and they define small boards as less than 12 members. We are currently 4 members, so we are a very small board. And it explains on those pages the reason for it is that the formality required in larger boards can be problematic with a small board given the small number, and that the goal of Robert's Rules is not to squelch conversation or discussion, but to actually ensure that everything is brought forward and properly considered and then voted on. And that's all that section pertains to. We are currently doing already, just naturally, some of the things contained in those pages, including raising our hand to vote rather than standing. Really, the only difference in there to what we're currently doing is that it is not necessary. I mean, of course it would be preferred, but not necessary that a motion be seconded. That's all. It also makes clear that the chair's role is that the chair can also partake in discussions, make motions, in other words, act in the same manner as a board member. And that is because it's such a small board. So this was not actually deleting anything, it is actually making clearer in our meeting bylaws what we can do as a small board so that we can work effectively and diligently. And so that's why I made the motion.
Trustee Harrelson.
Well, it's all well and good. Robert's rules basically is set out to be able to conduct business through a board, to have discussion, and to be able to vote. And the reason that I like to have a seconder is that if the vote is seconded, then it's going to be discussed. It's not going to hit the floor. It's going to go around and be discussed instead of dropped, and then a vote taken to either accept it or not. Otherwise, I have no problem with it, except that is the one thing that I prefer is to have a seconder to a motion so that it can be discussed rather than no seconder.
Trustee Bitton?
Yeah, I believe that we, you know, for the past 3 years, we've worked under the system and we're trained that we worked with a motion that was presented and had to be seconded for discussion. I think we should follow that protocol. If the board, I mean, our time is valuable. If there isn't 2 people in the board that want to discuss something, then I don't think we should take it on. 2 people out of 5 will support it, then fine. 1 person out of 5, no. I also believe if we go to that system, it'll make the chair's job that much harder to keep these things under control. Because if it's not supported by a seconder, there's probably not much interest in speaking about it from the other trustees. I do think in our discussions that earlier that we talked about, a lot of times motions aren't seconded because there's not enough information presented before they're put on the agenda. Sometimes they're not even put on the agenda. So really, if somebody's that interested in something, they need to do the homework. First off, get it on the agenda, and then give us, the trustees, some information with the agenda package on what we're going to be talking about. And then it's very likely that it will be successful. But coming to a meeting, not having the discussion point on the agenda, and then trying to bring it forward, I just think it's not. So I would rather we continue the way we're operating right now.
My thoughts on this are, first off, pages 486 or 489 are already incorporated into our meeting policy because we don't specify which pages are and aren't included. So we can draw on these, and we have been drawing on these with respect to some of the less formal aspects of it, such as standing and raising our hand and those sorts of things. I actually think the idea of proceeding with a motion without a seconder would be a rare occurrence anyways. I think what we'd end up doing is discussing it from the perspective of, do we have enough information, as was raised by Trustee Bitton. I don't sense a harm in this motion. I like the flexibility that it gives us to proceed without all the bureaucracy that's associated with some of these things. I think I probably generally prefer to have a seconder because that does show that there are 2 people who are willing to discuss this. Even though the act of seconding doesn't mean you support the motion, it means you consider it to be worthy of debate. And I do believe that most of our motions that we bring are worthy of debate, and therefore they will get seconded. So, all that said, I would be in favor of this motion just because it does specify the pages that sort of highlights the informality, or informality is the wrong word, an ability to work at a lower level of formality than it would be for like a legislative body like the U.S. House of Representatives that these rules were written for. So I would support it. Further comments?
It does not specify that, it just says a second of absolutely have to, is all it's saying,
Okay,
just to clarify that concern.
other comments? Shall we put this to a vote? So, we have the motion. Did we actually move to second it before we debated? I don't think we did, that's my mistake. So we should, okay.
We just followed the motion, oh my God.
We just did it.
We just did it the wrong way.
Motion.
I second it.
Give it a second.
All in favor
Of
of this motion?
we're voting on the motion now?
On this
Oh,
motion,
too
yes.
late,
Oh, okay, so we got it seconded. Yeah, that was a misvote on my part. Okay, so let's vote again.
Shall we have a call of rolls to make sure we know who voted what?
Oh dear.
Okay, so the motion is made, the motion is seconded. All in favor? So as a board, if we do not have a majority vote for, the motion is in the negative, the motion is not carried. And we will continue to operate with the policy that we currently, or the bylaw that we currently have. We will not modify the bylaw.
However, as you pointed out, we can, because it's contained in here. And our bylaws are based on following this, so. It's all good.
Okay, so motion is moved on from it. Okay, so we have a discussion of water tolls, and we actually had motions that were made, which of course I've not printed out, and they are on that phone over there, so my forgiveness, I beg for forgiveness on this. I will do my best to produce the motions from my head. The first was that we would instruct the CAO to proceed with collection as per our collections policy. And provided that within the the parcel tax collection policy, there is a step 5, which is required to give notice before a property is put into tax sale. And that we would, if we had proceeded beyond step 5, we would step back to step 5. Similarly, in the water tolls policy, step 2 says we would give notice of a water shutoff. And if we had proceeded beyond step 2, we would reset and re-execute step 2 with respect to past collection or overdue accounts. So that is the motion. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Okay, debate, discussion.
I think we all agreed that we needed to act on this and that collecting overdues was something that the board had given direction on prior in previous years. I recall it several times. And actually progress was made by the staff, just simply following the procedure. So I fully support the motion and sooner than later.
Trustee Carlson.
I have to agree, these water tolls and these outstanding taxes, furnished taxes, they've been going on for well before this pandemic showed up. And they need to be paid. It's part of the lifeblood of the operation, and other people pay their bills. These people must also make an effort to come in and pay these bills.
Trustee Day.
Yeah, I think we need to. We were given some options of how we wanted to do it. We picked this one. I think it's the best option. I don't think we can go to collection until we follow our process. So, and I was surprised to see that it seems to be an increasing problem. You know, why that is, I don't know. Maybe the word's out that you can get away with it. I don't know, but definitely need to get going on this and get it resolved.
I also agree. I've had conversations since our committee of the whole meeting via email with the ministry about any known direction to, as you know, the words we've used were stand down from collection. And the ministry is not aware of any such instruction to stand down. Our policies allow for payment plans, specifically with respect to water tolls, I believe. But I would also, you know, if there are financial hardships, I think people can approach the administration with a request for a payment plan that if is approved, must then be acted on. And so I think that that's an adequate facility to say we are considering the impacts of COVID-19 on people's working status and those sorts of things. So I'd like to be mindful of that there are people who are impacted by this and we have to be cognizant of it. That said, these arrears are well overdue in a lot of cases, and we need to start moving forward so that we can continue to protect the financial health of UBID. That's my comments on this. If there's any other comments from others on this, otherwise we can move to a vote on the motion.
No, good.
So, moved, seconded, all in favor? So the second motion that we discussed with respect to this was about continuing to be informed by the administration with respect to our progress and the status of outstanding accounts. And so the motion was along the lines of direct the CAO to prepare a report with respect to how, sorry, I'm trying to read my own handwriting here, how we have followed our policies and where we are at with respect to each delinquent account. So without naming names, that we would have a list of accounts, perhaps by roll number or something like that, that would say, here is the age of the account. This one is outstanding 90 days, this one's outstanding 180 days, that sort of thing. And these are the amounts of the outstanding accounts. So the idea here is that we get a regular monthly report with respect to the status of collections.
So what I have written down what you said at the county meeting, to provide the board with a detailed monthly accounting of the overdue parcel taxes and water tolls.
Yeah. Okay,
That was.
good enough.
Yep.
Yeah, you emailed us those two.
I did,
motions.
which
Yeah,
is
all right.
on the
Yeah,
phone, which is
yeah.
recording the meeting.
But I read them and I thought they were
Yeah,
what
so
we discussed.
as they were, like, so we are, you know, reproducing them to the best of our ability, but we'll use
Yeah.
those written ones as the formal motions, and small boards are allowed to do that.
Right, without even seconding. Okay, so I second that. Motion?
All in favor? Or any further discussion of it?
No.
All in favor? Okay, so that, we have said we would remove item C, the update from the governance working committee. It suggested that perhaps we have one further thought and sort of approval from this body as to whether I should proceed in this direction. But in the interest of transparency, at public board meetings, we generally would allow the public to attend and ask questions. And they're not allowed to attend right now, but I don't want to inhibit that flow of information and thought. This particular month, I haven't had too many questions, but I have had some questions that I have answered to the landowners or in the process of answering to landowners. And I would like to propose that I prepare a monthly summary of questions and answers that have been asked and given, where I depersonalize the questions because I don't have permission to use the landowner's name or whatever that might be, and I would use some discretion if the question couldn't be sufficiently depersonalized to so it wouldn't identify somebody, right? But I think I'd like to do that and put it out as a monthly report to say, here's what was asked, and here's what was the answer that was given. And if it's spawns more questions, that'd be great. So,
I second that. Or,
so move to do that?
I
Second.
second that, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Any discussion?
I think that's really important, given that you can be sure if one landowner has asked a question, others have thought of it, they just haven't taken the time to reach out to you. So I think, given the circumstances that we're under, given that our videotaping has bombed, you know, this would be a big help even. I think they're kind of thinking, what the heck's going on? We don't see anything. The delay with the minutes and everything has given this perception that we're maybe not doing anything, whatever. It's a good thing. Thank you for taking that on. I agree.
Okay.
That's it for me.
Yeah, I agree. It's a little more work for you, of course, but if people have questions and we can give them answers, that's always good.
Trustee Benton,
No, I think that's a great idea to do that. And it's good that you are answering the questions that are coming directly to you.
yeah, and, you know, there might be some that go to the administration, so perhaps we should also look at how to gather those questions that have been answered as well.
Yeah.
And you know, perhaps we can pull the administration into this process. You know, there's a part of me that wants this to come from the board, especially, you know, the stimulation here is about if you were at a public board meeting, you could ask a question and get an answer, so I'm trying to
Yeah.
replicate that
Yeah.
in this process, right?
Yeah.
So we could consider that, but I perhaps on further thought on that, I'd say let's keep it to questions to the board, because that's what we're trying to replicate here.
Yeah. Sounds
And
good.
it's not that much more work. The hard part's answering the questions. The easy part is cut and paste, so.
Great.
Okay, so more discussion,
No,
vote, all in favor? Okay.
a
So-
monthly sort of frequently asked questions.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's a great idea.
Now, if there weren't any, I don't intend to put out
No,
a notice that says, I didn't get any questions this month.
but I have some of my own.
Yeah.
What's the meaning of life?
And my favorite, why does tap one stick to the pan?
Yeah. You could do that just for.
Call to order.
Okay.
Chairman, get yourself in order.
Jeez.
Okay, so I guess that's the public portion of this meeting, and we